understand the disease and learn as much as I could about addiction and recovery, and we were in the right place.
Related with your organization, Dr. Fisher and John Bennett, why don't you share your perspective in terms of what you're seeing on this particular?
That kind of conduct. So generally speaking, that's what we've seen. I'm sure we'll talk about other topics, and I don't want to. And I have not, it's still so early on. I don't know that we've necessarily seen the repercussions of it or.
Yes, I was the driving force in the beginning, but now he works at his recovery for himself. Unfortunately, not everybody is able to access these same treatment options.
And, when I was talking before and I spoke, and it wasn't about Narcan, not a good thing. What I was speaking about is some anecdote.
Bought his own home at 23, was doing extremely well, and he hurt his back at work.
And if you take a look at, if you got a young person, that 12 to 17-year-old group, they're taking medicine out of their grandma's, medicine cabinet, and they're getting together on a Friday night, and they think they're just having fun. They're like, let's just take a few pills, and what we know about opiate is that, doing that for 2 or 3 weeks, and for some of these kids, they're popping them every day, thinking this is no big deal. This is a prescription medication. My grandma uses it, or my mother uses it, or whatever. And over a period of time now, they try to stop using, and now they start to get sick. So they're no longer necessarily looking for that high. Now they're just taking a pill before they go to school so that they don't get sick. And that's how sometimes young people become addicted to these substances. By just kind of experimenting, playing around, and then eventually they want to get off of them, they go through withdrawal, and they continue to use.
What I've noticed with people is after the 28 days worth of treatment, if they get that long because of their, the insurance company, they go home and they're back in the same exact circumstances, same exact situations, same exact people. It's a matter of time before it happens again, whether Suboxone or not. So, I don't know. I think there just needs to be more done. I know for me personally, even when I was living on the streets, I tried to get into rehab multiple times. It took me almost 6 months to get into a rehab. I went to ECMC, Stutzman. I got denied both places. I called Syracuse Behavioral Health for 3.5 months while being homeless. I could find a phone every day and try to call because I really wanted the help. And I think that that's a major aspect too, is are these people really wanting help? And the sad part about it is that those that do, is the help and the resources available.
What we're seeing here in Genesee County is more availability of the heroin. According to our local drug task force, approximately 50% of our undercover buys are now heroin. We're a small rural community between 2 major metropolitan areas, Buffalo and Rochester. The majority of our drugs come out of the city of Rochester. I think a lot of our property crimes, our burglaries, our larcenies, shopliftings, a lot of that's related to drug addiction. Somebody steals your flat screen TV or your firearm, but 45 minutes later it's on the streets in the city of Rochester and it goes up somebody's nose. So that's something that we're dealing with from a law enforcement perspective. And in addition to that, our jail population, about 80% of our inmates have some type of addiction. It's a difficult population to deal with. We have protocols in place if somebody comes in with a heroin addiction, but these are difficult types of situations to handle.
What I heard today in this room is there's an emergency situation in the community, and I would like to see some emergency legislation to be able to have other healthcare providers, medical providers, which is nurse practitioners, be able to prescribe Suboxone.
But, some very specific examples of one woman. One of the things that we hope to accomplish today, through communication, is that people realize that the face of drug addiction and heroin abuse and use is not just a problem in somebody else's family and somebody else's neighborhood or community. It's right here.
We're going to be looking at legislation passed in the next couple of weeks to deal with the heroin epidemic on a statewide basis, dealing mostly with prevention, treatment, and law enforcement. And we got ideas on all of those areas during today's forum.
Yeah, I mean, they're covered a lot of different aspects of the problem.
Yeah. And it's so tragic to hear about parents who lost children and are people that are in recovery now, getting them the assistance they need and making sure the insurance companies cover the treatment they need to beat the heroin epidemic.
Yeah, this seems like the biggest problem. So getting the insurance company to do something.
Yeah, it is a statewide problem, and I think that we're going to pass legislation to go further. It's never going to be completely resolved as a heroin epidemic or any drug, really. It's always going to be here, but we need to combat it as much as we can. And I think the legislation we got from Senator Ranzenhofer's forum today is going to go a long way to do that.
So you said you were texting while you were here, and
Yes.
you got something going already?
Absolutely. We were taking testimony, and I was texting to the councils back in Albany. They thought the ideas were great, and we actually had legislation drafted as a result of today's forum.
And then what happens to that legislation?
We hopefully will pass it in the next couple of weeks in the Senate, and then move on to the Senate and have the governor sign it.